a monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Knows what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
It's me, Billy. Agnes, don't you tell what we did, Agnes.
I don't remember. I was probably drunk. Wow. Hello, all you horror movie sycophants out there. Welcome back to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Frosty. Alongside me, as always, is Corey Pete.
What's up?
And last but certainly not least is Tony.
Hello.
How's it going, guys?
What's going on, buddy?
Welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch.
Thunderdome, bitch. You're a real gold-plated whore, Corey. You know that? Yeah. That's we'll tie that into the review when we get there. But that's a fucking phenomenal line.
My favorite line of this movie. We'll definitely get to that. It's got to be the Santa Claus.
Oh yeah. The original Bad Santa.
Ho ho ho! Shit.
I like how he was just calling children little bastards and stuff.
Yeah, and they're like sitting on his lap. This is Santa naughty. Oh man. So, welcome listeners. Once again to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. We want to take this time to thank everyone who's had a chance to check our shows out on various outlets such as Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Podcast Addict, wherever podcasts are available. We see the numbers going up. We greatly appreciate it. We thank you for your continued support. Don't forget, though, whenever you listen to us on, whether it be, I don't know, can you leave a review on Spotify? I'm pretty sure you can. iTunes, leave us a review on there on iTunes. Anywhere you can leave us a review that you listen to us on. Doesn't matter. We would greatly appreciate it. It would help the show out a lot and allow us to continue to make content and stuff in the future. So you guys rock. We appreciate that. But today we are going to be reviewing Black Christmas, directed Black Christmas, I gave you my heart. That's all you're getting from me.
That's it.
So yeah, interesting movie. This movie is about a little boy who wants a BB gun for Christmas.
Wrong movie.
His well, I was gonna say this boy who wants the BB gun for Christmas and no one will give it to him, so he just kills everyone.
Oh, wait a minute. This is the right movie.
Yeah. That little boy grew up to be the killer in this movie.
Wait a minute. That was Ralphie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Ralphie.
Yeah, Ralphie.
Okay.
Ralphie.
Not Billy.
Not Billy. But
Not
that has
Billy.
been, I did see that was a fan theory, which is pretty fucking funny. That that it's Ralphie. That's what happens, because I mean that it took place in the 40s, so he grew up and he was pissed off and he just ended up going to a sorority house and killing. So I just think that's funny.
Get a
Like, they
BB
tie it
gun.
in. Yeah, they tie it. Yeah, just because like in an alternate timeline where he didn't get the BB gun, so he just flipped out and just became a killer.
I mean,
Yeah,
you gotta look at it. Kids are really easily subjected to, what's the word I'm looking for? Psychotic ventures, because you got even like Mike Myers, kid only, wanted to go trick or treating, went off on his sister.
Oh.
So I could see that. I could see a kid not getting his way and just flipping out.
Yeah, anything could set these little bastards off.
Imagine being told your whole life you'd shoot your eye out,
Yeah.
and one day you shot your eye out. That's why Billy's eyes were so red, because it's prosthetic eye. See?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then taking two the eye.
Yeah, we're getting deep here. We haven't even started the review.
No, right? Holy
We're
shit.
getting into fan theories.
It's our fan theory episode.
I will be getting into a good one when we tie the show together, but yeah, I'll wait on that. But there's a good one. I'll bring it up.
Absolutely. So yeah, this movie was directed by Bob Clark, same person who directed The Christmas Story. Oddly enough, 1974, this movie came out. It is actually considered by a lot of fans to be right there, along with the other slashers, as like a harbinger for the slashers genre, which is pretty cool. Right beside Psycho. I think Peeping Tom was another one that was listed.
The other one.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then this one, it's like right there. So that's a pretty big honor, And I can definitely see it. Watching the movie last night, I had that in my mind, because one thing I like to do when I'm watching a movie is not only do I take notes, but I like to go through like IMDb and I read the trivia, and I read like I try not to get into spoiler territory. IMDb is usually pretty good about letting you know if there's spoilers or not, but I'll read like some facts about the movie, and it's kind of stuck with me as I'm watching the movie, And my wife gets irritated with me sometimes if she's watching the movie with me, because I'll want to pause it and be like, "Oh my gosh, you gotta hear this." So, that's always fun.
Yeah. But to your point, Frosty, it is technically considered a proto slasher film, along with movies you mentioned before. And a reason for it is because even in the beginning, when the movie starts opening up, you get the POV shot, which was groundbreaking at the time. I mean, I think Peeping Tom's done it before, but this POV shot was really fantastic, and the technique and the way they did it, where you're seeing everything through the killer's eyes, was really, really fantastic. And I just love the whole.
Yeah, it was like a what are they called? Little go cams. Yeah. It's kind of what it looked like, but of course we didn't have those back in the 70s. But
yeah. Essentially, they would hook up a rig to the camera, to the I think it was one of the assistant directors or somebody involved in the production, but they would hook up a rig to him with the camera, and it was mounted so it would follow everything he was doing, like he was scaling up the side of the house to get into the house. All those scenes in particular were done using that style, so that was pretty unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
fast and well done as well. Well done.
It really was. Even the sounds, like because you could hear him breathing, and he had like that little piggy breaths going. He sound like the little kid off Hey Arnold.
I know exactly.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So it added like that creepiness to it. You know what I mean? So. And it was pretty haunting. And the idea of it, like, these people are chilling at this Christmas party, just completely nonchalant, not a care in the world. Little they didn't know there's a psycho climbing in their attic. Like, that's terrifying, because that's kind of like a thing, I'm not trying to run off too much of a tangent, but like, I've always been terrified of the idea of somebody like just chilling in your attic without you knowing. And like, because I heard a story. I think originally it was a creepypasta, but it was actually based off of a real life event where this dude had some like squatter come and pop a squat in his attic. And for like just a couple days, it was like a week or two, he kept missing food out of his fridge. He's like, "What the hell's going on?" Come to find out, she was sneaking in and out of the attic in the middle of the night and like eating his food. And he eventually caught her and called the cops. But oh my gosh, that's just terrifying.
Makes me want to check my attic.
Dude, I'm telling you. Luckily, I don't have like attic access. Like I have attic accesses, but they're kind of small. They're about as small as the ones in the movie, because I think this house was originally built in the 70s, but there's no like ladder or anything. So if anything's getting in my attic, it's gonna have quite the vertical leap, and I ain't about to tackle that issue.
Yeah, I think if they were to squat in my attic, they'd be having a pretty terrible time. So
Yeah.
there's no access. It's not really roomy. They're gonna have a miserable time in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But to your point, it's very like creepy that he just unprovoked. He just as soon as the movie opens up, he's scaling the house and
Hmm.
kind of he's actually stalking, which is really cool. I
Mhm.
love that they used the fact that he is stalking outside of the house, and then he
Yeah.
finally climbs up the terrace up into the attic, and man, it's so off-putting. It's so well done, and it gives you
Yeah,
chills.
it definitely does. And like
Yeah.
the multiple personality, you know, factor into where it's like, every time they get a call from this person, they're using like different voices. It was really creepy.
Yeah.
Very really added to it, you know, to where like the phone calls, there was never a dull moment with the phone calls.
No,
So,
there was.
but
Some of them are a little almost disturbing to hear too.
Yeah,
Like,
very disturbing, especially for the time to get away with some of that dialogue.
yeah.
It's
mm,
very yeah, it blows my mind that they were actually able to get away with that and actually able to say half the nasty shit that they were saying.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
it was nasty.
yeah. Then some calls it was kind of weird because it was almost incoherent what was going on. Like there's one point where the killer is literally going, "Ah, ah." Like what the hell are you saying?
Right.
So it's like you want to be scared by it, but you kind of can't help but laugh because
Mhm.
it's like, what are you saying?
Well,
But
there's a lot of in watching this. This is a very, and I mean, on the surface, it's a very serious and very dread. It has a sense of dread,
mm,
and but when I watch it, sometimes I pick up on a lot of comedy, and it's very very subtle, but it's well, like I said, it fits the movie well because it is subtle. So it's like there's moments that it shifts and you get a little comedy and you get a little comedy going on and it's like, oh wow, and it kind of takes you out of it for a minute and then it goes back into this serious horror film, which is to give Bob Clark all the credit, it's very well done because it almost doesn't overstay its welcome. It's almost appreciated to kind of give you a break from all the, you know, just the off-putting shit that our killer actually does, especially when he's on the phone and when he's stalking and when he's in the attic and he's, doing just random shit. It kind of breaks the mold a little bit, so it's cool. And there's some really funny fucking moments in this movie. I mean, a lot
mm.
of shit. I'd get into favorite characters. My favorite character by far is Barb. Half the shit that she says is amazing.
She
So
told the cop the address was Fellatio Drive or whatever.
oh man,
There's
that
the phone
scene.
number.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is the extension.
yeah,
Them at the sorority house was fellatio, and he has no idea. It went right over his head.
yeah. And then those other two cops saw it and they're like
Oh, they couldn't
laughing
shit.
about it.
It's
And,
so good.
and then when John Saxon's character goes to the house and he's interrogating the not interrogating, but he's talking to the girls there, and he asks where the other one was, Barb, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, she's upstairs sleeping," and he goes, "She's the one that came to the station earlier." He's like, "Oh, you better let her sleep," and he kind of
They better
laughed because he
put
remembered the
off.
joke. I thought that was I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I did too.
So I don't know
Um,
if like that joke had like resonated with the actors and they just thought it was funny as hell, and it was like he kind of broke character for a second, or if like he really meant to, like if it was planned on him. It made the character seem more believable. That was just,
yeah,
you know, it was a funny little moment that I had noticed. I love that in movies when the characters could share chemistry, like good chemistry.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. There was definitely a lot of good chemistry between the cast in this one.
Yeah.
Right. But even the story with when she said that there's a certain species of turtle that can screw for 3 days straight without stopping. That whole fucking scene.
You don't believe me, do you?
You know how I know this? Because I went to the zoo and I watched them. Well, not for 3 days, but I went to the scene where it would take 30 seconds. Premature ejaculation.
Great cast too, man. Olivia
Martin Kidder.
Hussey
Yeah.
as Jess. She was, of course, probably her more notable role, other than this one, is Romeo and Juliet,
Yeah.
1968, which
Yeah.
my wife had actually seen. I think I saw it too in school. Pretty sure everyone saw that movie in school.
Yeah.
I don't think they were showing the DiCaprio version.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Keir Dullea?
Yeah.
As Peter. I'm not sure how you say his last name. Looked him up on IMDb. I was like, he looks familiar. 2001 Space Odyssey.
Sad to see.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
They claimed it.
Margaret Kidder, of course, was Lois Lane.
Yeah. Fun fact. I actually didn't know that, and when I was sitting there reviewing or watching the film for the review, my mom was actually sitting in the living room watching it with me, and she was like, "Oh, that's Lois Lane," and I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" No, it's not.
Yeah,
And then sure enough, I looked it up. I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
Sure enough. Yeah, I'll be honest, man. If I'd have saw her, I would have been like, I know her from somewhere. I would have had to look her up. But yep, sure enough, Lois Lane. She's great actress, man.
Yeah, she was great in this, man. Everything she did was just gold. Like she was phenomenal in this.
Mm-hmm. Of course, John Saxon was in the movie. He had a great role.
The legendary John Saxon. R.I.P.
Mm-hmm. Marianne Waldman's character was funny. Mrs. Mack, the alcoholic.
And she's an absolutely phenomenal character as well.
Yes.
She would hide booze everywhere in that house.
Everywhere.
There's so much hidden bottles.
In
Even in her toilet.
bag.
Toilet.
Oh,
that scene. She pulled the string. Full blown alcoholic, that woman.
Mm.
you know what one of my favorite scenes with her in was when what was the girl's name, that the first girl that came up missing, was Claire?
Claire, yeah.
Yeah. When her dad was visiting and they're in the room and there's a peace sign behind her and she puts her hand on the ass. And she's like, we run a really nice place here, and he's like, yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, her dad was definitely a prude. He was not liking anything that was going on in that house.
No.
But yeah, the Claire, played by Lynn Griffin, who is a little scream queen in herself. She was in of course this, and she was also in Curtains, which is another really, really good slasher film. Yeah, she had a nice little career. But yeah, her kill scene in particular is really haunting. And to take it into more of a serious note, like the whole setup to that kill, when she hears something in the closet. I mean, spoilers, obviously, but she hears something in the closet. I think it's the cat. Yeah, the killer's making the cat sounds. And something's just really ominous about it. And she's like, is that you? I can't remember the name of the cats. I can't remember the name of the cat, but she was calling out for the cat. Yeah, Claude, that was it. She would call out for it, and she would get closer and closer and closer to the closet, and there was a bunch of clothes that were, bagged up. So, eventually she got so close, and it just froze for a minute, and then boom. Our killer attacks her with the bag from the clothes and pretty much suffocates her. And throughout the rest of the movie, which is really cool, she's She's still got the bag over her head, but she's sitting in a rocking chair in the attic. And that's the iconic shot from the poster to everything you think of Black Christmas. You think of that shot with Claire in the attic with the bag over her head.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really, really just, I mean, great opening kill. Not bloody. It doesn't have to be. It's just really, it works perfectly for what this movie is. I mean, it's effective.
Bob Clark actually went on record in saying he wanted the kills to be more gruesome, but after him and Roy Moore, the writer, after they had kind of collabed and got together and talked about it, they decided that they liked the idea to just kind of tone it down, keep it subtle.
And honestly, me being a gore fan and everything like that, I think that was a great decision to keep
I don't think you needed gore in this movie.
Yeah.
No.
I think it was a phenomenal decision. I think it was the right decision because I can't imagine this movie with gore. I don't know why, but to me, it just wouldn't be as effective.
Well,
Yeah, that'd be too much.
That might be how they got away with the rating system as far as what, the dialogue between characters and even on the phone calls and stuff. That might have been the reason why they got away with the rating system the way that they did.
Yeah, that could be it.
Well, that plus, I mean, it helped kind of look at more of a logical sense here. Like it kind of helped keep the killer more hidden. You know what I mean? Because if he was going around just slaughtering everybody with an axe or something, like there'd be traces of blood and it'd be messy. I mean, this was like his first victim was suffocation with the bag, and so it was quiet. And it was less messy.
Yeah.
And he then it shows him physically carrying her to the attic. And then the next kill, of course, was with the hook, but it was in the attic, so nobody's going to check that. Like he didn't really get too bloody until towards the end of the movie, where they had that like when Barb's character died, and they had that stab scene while the carolers were singing. That scene was really good.
Same sequence that was. Oh my god, that was probably one of my favorite sequences of the movie.
Talk about how long the unicorn's horn was on that thing. It was like here's a unicorn head that's like 3 inches. We're gonna just have a horn on it that's like 8 inches long.
Yeah, it was quite
It's so ridiculous looking, but I mean instantly I know what he's going towards. I know what that's gonna be.
Yeah, Kim actually, my wife, she actually posted it. She noticed that too right away. She's like, "Oh, I know what he's going to use to kill her," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" Gonna be the giant unicorn head. But yeah, that scene was really cool.
It's so well done.
Yeah, it was Jess was downstairs listening to the carolers, and she's like, so distracted and so happy to hear the carolers singing. Meanwhile, upstairs, she doesn't know that her friend's getting brutally murdered in the room by a giant unicorn head. Yeah, and just the way they shot it. I did notice that the screen was, I thought it was like the DVD messing up at first. I was like, that can't be right. It's a DVD, not a VHS. But like the screen was kind of shaky. And I think they did that for effect.
Yeah.
Like,
Kind
I
of
don't
like
know.
the way they lit the scene where you can only see his eye, which I love.
Yeah.
You don't really see his eye. Everything else is just taken out of the effect. Like you can't really darken. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell him what we did.
Great. So yeah, it's so effective the way it was shot. I mean, kudos to Bob Clark for actually making that happen.
Yeah. This killer was, he was a little too real, man.
Yeah, Billy was always to me he's such a creepy killer. I mean, there's some, and when we get to the end, I'll further elaborate. But there's some things that he does in here that just get under your skin and make you. I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but I'll get into it when we get toward the end when we wrap it up. But
yeah,
he just does some shit that man really makes your skin crawl.
Yeah, I mean he's psychotic, but he's also very very thought out.
Yeah.
So he's got mad crazy serial killer vibes about him. I mean, essentially that's what slashers are, right? It's just a series of serial killings. But, if you think back when this movie was filmed, the serial killer studies and all were really big. This was actually around, if I'm not mistaken, this was around the time the girls at Florida State were murdered by Ted Bundy.
Mm.
This, of course, I think was way before he got caught, but because if I can find the trivia on it, you might have seen it, Tony, but there's some trivia on here on IMDb where it mentions that they were going to. Yeah, here it is. NBC scheduled this film as primetime network debut on January 28th, 1978, under the title Stranger in the House. On January 15, 1978, 2 female students at Florida State University were murdered by an assailant who broke into the sorority house where they lived. So this movie was kind of touching home
Yeah.
to NBC. And that's because those 2 girls had gotten murdered at university, sorority. We would later find out that it was Ted Bundy who killed them. So,
Right, which, I mean, if you kind of look at his silhouette, it's weird because Billy kind of has the Ted Bundy look. It's just really, it's really fascinating. I never thought about it till just now, but hearing that and then looking at the shot of him, it just, oh man, it's crazy how that happens,
But this was before Ted Bundy had gotten caught.
Exactly.
Which is even freakier.
But I mean,
Bob
the
Clark.
70s,
Bob Clark was friends with Ted Bundy.
Right.
You heard it here first.
Confirmed. Confirmed. But a lot of guys from the 70s had that look. So maybe I'm just thinking too much into it. But yeah, it's just I make that just that connection. It's crazy.
Well, even if you look at Art Hindle, in a sense, he almost looks like Ted Bundy.
Yeah,
he really does.
Yeah,
and I mean, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I have seen a picture of Ted Bundy wearing a similar coat to that fur coat that Art Hindle was wearing in this film.
How fucking majestic is that coat? I mean, really. And I know somebody, I think it was a fan, recently got in touch with Art Hindle. Somebody did and asked him if he still had that jacket. And sure enough, he still has that jacket in his closet.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Art Hindle looks like a guy that would keep a 70s jacket in his fucking closet.
We've kind of been on an Art Hindle kick because we just did Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and he was in that too. So, and I know
The Brood.
I just watched The Brood.
Watched The Brood, and he was in that. So you've been on a kick with Art Hindle lately, man. He's a great actor. I love him and stuff.
Great in The Brood. I absolutely love that film. I can't wait till we get into it.
I think I looked him up. I think if I'm not mistaken, I looked him up on IMDb, and he had like 180 something acting credits.
Yeah,
he's not really ridiculous like that.
For sure.
He was in Porky's, which was also directed by Bob Clark.
He was in, well, I think he was in all the Porky's, if I'm not mistaken.
He was
I know one too.
Christmas. I'm trying to see where you can get all his. He got a lot of TV credits too.
Yeah.
He played Billy Duke in Winter Comes Early. He played in a movie in 1971 called Foxy Lady as, get this, football star. A lot of TV credits. But yeah, Art Hindle was cool.
And he was also in The Void. Another Canadian movie, yeah.
I didn't know that.
More
Canadians.
Yeah, more modern film, but he was in The Void.
Well,
Yeah, but this movie is very Canadian as well. You hear the accents come out when they're, speaking their dialogue. You of course there's a hockey scene because there has to be a hockey scene.
Oh yeah,
Canadian
has to be.
But yeah, there's
Bob Clark's like football. What's that?
So good. I noticed a lot of that, especially with the accents and stuff like that. You hear, of course, the guy gets hit. Her dad gets hit with a snowball, and the guy's like, "Well, I said I was sorry." Or
Sorry.
sorry.
Was this film filmed in Canada or no?
Oh yeah, it's a Canadian film.
Okay, I didn't know
Canadian film with an American director.
that. That's cool.
Nice. I didn't see anything stating that this movie had been filmed in the same house as Christmas Story.
No, this one didn't. I believe it was the remake that was filmed in that house, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Don't
I was
don't hold
wondering,
me to it,
man.
but I'm pretty sure I heard that somewhere. I heard
Okay.
that, and then there was also a nod to in the remake. There was a nod because there was in one of the scenes you see the leg lamp in a corner of a room or something.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
get this: the film managed to gross $4,053,000 on a relatively small budget of $620,000 at the box office. By today's standards numbers, that would be $21 million gross on a $3 million budget, which means that the film grossed 6.5 times its budget, turning in profit.
Wow.
No wonder Bob Clark didn't go on to do more.
Yeah. I wish he would have continued with horror. I know, and Tony, you can maybe correct me, but I know he did Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Yep.
Was
He
there
did.
was there any other Bob Clark horror films?
Oh yeah, he's directed Death Dream, which is a fucking wonderful movie
Oh.
that I would love to cover. That matter
I
of
did-
fact came out the same year as Black Christmas. So Death Dream's fucking awesome, dude. It's a great movie.
That's a good movie,
de-
actually.
definitely look into covering that one day too. But yeah, he's dabbled. Like you said, I wish he would have stuck with horror because he did 3 absolutely great horror films. So it would have been nice to see him continue. But like I said, it's almost catch-22 because if he would have continued on the horror route, we probably never would have got A Christmas Story or Porky's. So
Yeah.
you know,
Of course, I was just joking. He did go on to do a lot, but that 6.5 times its budget it turned in profit in 74.
74.
Fair. That's impressive.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah, I'm looking at some of his more notables here. So Christmas Story didn't come out till 83, so like 9 years later.
Mhm.
Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things came out in 72. Yeah, sure enough, Death Dream, Black Christmas. I think looks like Death Dream came out before Black Christmas. Murder by Decree. That looks like a horror movie. Could be wrong. Mystery thriller, so maybe not.
Hmm.
Nah, it looks like that's a Sherlock Holmes movie. Get out of here. She-Man, A Story of Fixation. Oh my God, that's a horror movie. It's a horror movie if I ever heard one.
Man.
So,
But yeah, he's like I said, man, he if he would have continued on that trend, I think we would have been talking about. I mean, we could talk about Bob Clark as a master of horror. I mean, there's a couple directors out there that are considered masters of horror that haven't directed nearly as quality as he has. So, I mean, you can put him into that category for sure.
Yeah.
don't talk about M. Night Shyamalan that way.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm talking about you, M. Night. That was directed towards you.
Shamalama Ding Dong.
He's a national treasure. Don't make fun of him.
Oh, but
But
you do have some of your directors though out there that because like look at Peter Jackson for instance.
Yeah,
He started out in horror and then ended up making his career obviously
he made
doing
them
the,
hot
other films. Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few like that. But there's one thing that's really interesting, based on the structure of this movie. When you first meet our lead character, Jess, played by Olivia Hussey, she doesn't get a phone call directly from Peter, her boyfriend, but eventually she talks to him and says, "Hey, I have to talk to you face to face." And we find out that Peter's like a high-strung, musician, and he's a piano player, and he lives in the conservatory. He pretty much lives there. He has room and board, so he's there all the time, and he's always constantly preparing for this reception that he has. And you could tell that he's starting to crack. He's starting to lose his mind. He even mentions to her, like, hey, I really don't have the time to play games. I want to know what's going on. I haven't got any sleep in 3 days. So you could tell he's starting to crack, and he's starting to kind of lose it a little bit. And then Jess brings up the fact that she's pregnant, which is really, really, this is another thing about the movie. It's kind of ahead of its time with some feminism. Because she takes more of a direct approach with him when it comes to saying that she wants to abort the baby. Pretty much, she doesn't want to have his child.
Papa, don't preach.
Right.
I've been losing.
Right. She almost tells him, like, kind of, being really forward with him and saying, "Hey, I don't want to marry you. I don't want to, I don't want to carry your child. It was just a thing. It was just a fling kind of thing." So.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it's really like really, really a strong female protagonist. So you could tell, like, throughout the movie, he starts to unwind more, and Peter starts to become a red herring. So the movie structured, the way it's structured, it almost wants the audience to believe that Peter is the one killing, because he, essentially is cracking. He starts to lose it at the recital. He doesn't play as well as he wants to in front of the judges, and then he kind of, there's a shot where he's just kind of looking down, and it's like, oh, I fucked up. I didn't do what I planned on doing and showing out. And then there's a scene where he just completely fucking obliterates his piano with I guess a mic stand or something. I don't know, but he really goes to town on it.
Well,
and
my wife, during that scene, my wife was like, "That sounds terrible."
Yes.
So what the judges are gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is bad. You are not a man of God.
Pretty much, yeah. But I like the way that he does that. He structures it to where you believe that he is a red herring, and there's he's the most glaring red herring, of course, But
Of course,
there's a couple more. So I like that it keeps you guessing. If you've never seen the film before, it's kind of fun picking out who you think would be the killer, and then at the end, it's even more fun for me because it has an ending that I like, that I guess we'll get into when we get there.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll go ahead, man.
Well, towards the ending, I did want to bring this up. There's a scene where Billy is now chasing, the main characters. What's her name? Jess.
Killer.
He's chasing her down to, like, the basement. She locks herself in, and then out of nowhere, I mean, just like a split second, Killer stops beating on the door, and now all of a sudden, there's our red herring knocking at the window because he just magically knows that she's in the basement all of a sudden.
Right.
It's
kind of convenient, which plays into my fan theory, which this is a fucking fan theory I love. Some fans believe that there are two killers, that Billy and Peter are both the killers, which is a pretty interesting theory if you think about it, because to your point, Corey, with that scene, and another reason why I find Billy as creepy and off-putting as he is, the way he moves. He almost moves like a guy that's he's on PCP. He's really really skittish and really fast, and really it's just downright creepy the way he moves. There's a scene where he falls and he just pops right back up. It's insane.
Yeah.
And he's running super fast, and then when she gets into the basement, she locks the basement, and he's just pounding on the door, about to just tear it off the hinges pretty much.
That's probably one of my favorite parts.
Right. And then all of a sudden he just stops and calmly walks out of the house. And I just think that's so damn effective and creepy. It really is. Because you don't know a thing about his character. You don't know anything about him. You can kind of piece it together with some of the dialogue that he has, that he's saying on the phone conversations with them. Well, I wouldn't call it a conversation. He's pretty much talking and they're just listening. But you can kind of piece together his life with the kind of things that he says. But the fact that he moves the way he does, the fact that he's unhinged and very, I don't know, man. I never could figure out why he moves like that. I'm
He's
wondering
very
if
strong too.
yeah, incredibly strong too. So I think it's fascinating because he walks out, he stops banging, he stops pretty much ripping at the door. He walks out, and then all of a sudden you hear Peter coming to the window. Which when Peter peeks through the window, it makes my skin crawl. I don't know why. It's a really effective scene. Just downright creepy. But it plays into the theory where, hey, there could be two killers here. You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility. But I didn't know what you guys thought about that. I thought it was pretty fascinating. I never really thought about it.
Any sane person wouldn't bust the window open to get down into the basement. They would go through the front door. They would go to the door of the basement. If you think that your loved one is injured or something in the basement, you're not going to just. Well, I mean, I guess you would out of. I guess like if you were there to rescue her or something, but I mean, I would at least check the door first to make sure I can get in that way before I just busted through a damn window.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then on top of it, there's the creep factor and him down there, and then she like hides in the shadows, and he's like, "Oh, there you are. Why didn't you answer me?"
Yeah, he's very I don't know. He's just very off-putting with his dialogue. Almost like he knows more than he,
Yeah. Also, what if at this point he had snapped and he was going to hurt her or try to hurt her, and so she defended herself?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. I see that too.
So it's like
because I mean, their last scene together, she was like, "Hey, I'm not wavering on my decision. I'm not going to have your child. I'm not going to marry you." And he kind of flipped out, and he was like hitting a tree, and he was really, really. He said at one point, he's like, "You'll be sorry" or something like that, and he said, "If you abort this baby or something, you're going to be very, very sorry." And then he just leaves. So just throughout the film, you could just tell he was becoming more and more unhinged, and he was losing his grip on sanity, and really, really just taking it personal on her because of what he felt that she was putting him through.
Yeah,
or what he felt that she was putting him through.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we're already kind of, we've already jumped headfirst into spoilers here. For the listeners who haven't seen the movie, definitely go watch it. Forget everything you heard. Go watch it. It's awesome.
I tried to throw out a spoiler before we get in there, but hopefully they caught that.
Yeah. But of course, throughout the movie, they're receiving these phone calls from the stalker, who we assume is the killer. Mm-hmm. And it's just, like we mentioned before, it's very like incoherent speech at times. Sometimes it's like, it's weird too, because the killer's kind of mentioning things that have been talked about.
Yeah.
So that's just goes back to him listening on the conversations,
Well, here's the real creep factor. Okay, he was making all these phone calls from within the house itself.
Yeah,
because they didn't have cell phones back then, nothing like that. So they had landlines, and you could dial your own number and call a house in another part, or call the same house.
Well, we find out that through dialogue that the killer Billy was actually calling from Mrs. Mack's room because she had a separate line in the house. Because you can see, you could see there's one scene where I think it's like the last conversation he has. He's dialing the number, and you can see it's pretty much her room, and then there's a picture of her and it's the McHenry sisters, so I imagine that's Mrs. Mack and possibly her sibling. So I'm guessing that he was in her room because even John Saxon's character, Lieutenant Fuller, says, "Hey, the house mother has her own separate line," when he's talking to the guy tapping the phone. So you find out that, hey, he's definitely using her phone to make these calls to the house. So I did pick up on that and made sure that because I was wondering, I was like, is he dialing the same? I don't know. I just wanted to verify that and check with that so we would know what was,
Yeah,
what
I think
number.
I vaguely remember that dialogue actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the big reveal at the end, It's like, oh, the killer's in the house. The killer's in the house. The killer is there. So it's
which I mean they already allude to that because even before you hear it, and I wish they wouldn't have shown that scene because it's the scene where Phil gets killed. She walks in the room and the door shuts behind her, or you hear you hear Billy's voice and the door shuts behind her, and then the next scene you see him dialing on the phone in the room. He's in the house, so obviously he's making phone calls from in the house.
Yeah, because we know. I mean, he's scaling the house in the beginning, so we know he's in the house. But for her character, it's the big reveal for her character. Which the guy says, "Hey," when Lieutenant Fuller calls. I can't remember his name. The cop at the station.
Nash.
The one. Yeah, Nash. Yeah, when he calls him and tells him, "Hey, when you talk to her on the phone, get her out of the house, but don't tell her that he's in the house with her."
That was a funny scene too because he's like, all right, Jess, now listen to me. He's like, I need you to listen. Don't ask any questions. He's like, hang the phone up and walk out the front door, and we'll be there in 5 minutes. She goes, but why? Damn it, Jess!
Please,
Mr.
Bradford, would you just do what I tell you?
She grabs a hot poker from the fireplace and goes to walk upstairs.
Yeah,
obviously.
I love the dialogue between Nash and John Saxon's character because he's like, call her, make sure that you have a calm voice, let her know what's going on, but basically, have her walk out of the house, to not go upstairs, nothing like that, just get out of the house calmly. And he was like, if you blow this, I'm gonna kick your ass or something like that.
Hey, you screw this up, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
So funny.
Play him off to be the bumbling fool, the very naive bumbling fool. But he actually handled that scene pretty well. I mean, he tried. He's like, hey, just do what I tell you, please. Don't ask any questions. He tried. And then, of course, she kept asking a couple questions. So finally, he's like, look, the killer's in the house. You have to get out of the house. So he did, handle it pretty well.
At the end of the movie, I was left wondering, did John Saxon go back to the police station and beat his ass?
Yeah.
How could you screw this up? You had one job, Nash.
One job.
Didn't another film play off that too, where a killer was calling from inside the house? Wasn't it? When a stranger calls.
Yeah, the original. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But in that movie, it's a little different because we don't realize that I believe that we don't realize that the killer's in the house until the final reveal. Which, spoiler, sorry for anybody who hasn't seen it. But yeah, very similar. Very similar.
Scream.
Yeah. Scream played off that as well.
Scream did too. Yeah, which plays into the fan theory of it could be like a Scream thing with two killers. That would be pretty fascinating.
I could see that. I could see that Billy just, Billy wasn't the one that chased her down into the basement. It was Peter. I could see that, and then it just was never revealed.
Right.
So it's left to the imagination.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's I tried to pay attention to it a little bit, but I was trying to pay attention to what Billy was wearing. Like he had a cardigan sweater on almost, and it was kind of green. And I think Peter had a very similar, if not almost the same kind of sweater. So I kind of, if that is the theory and stuff like that, you could get confused because they're kind of wearing similar clothing. Yeah. And you really see
they're both wearing a watch too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Peter was wearing a turtleneck.
Yeah. Okay.
Fuck turtlenecks.
It's 2020. If you're wearing a turtleneck now, you are a serial killer.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Billy.
Frosty, you touched on it a little earlier about the sound design. Sound design in this movie is fucking great. Especially when there's quiet moments between the actors and stuff like that. You can hear almost the wind in the background, and it's almost like an ambient noise going on. It's very ominous, very creepy.
Yeah, he did a good job of like not overdoing it. There was a couple scenes where they had like the I don't think it wasn't an organ. It was definitely a piano, but it was like like a very deep minor key or something. Like it was very very subtle.
Yeah.
And blended well in the background.
Really?
Yeah, so it didn't overdo it. But yeah, good sound mixing, good sound design, which is definitely what you need in horror movies. To set.
Yeah.
70s, yeah.
Yeah. Thought it was good.
Yep.
But I would definitely say though that scene where he chases her down the stairs to the basement, it's got to be one of my favorite parts. That because at this point, I was really, they had really tried their best to make Peter the ultimate red herring, and like really throw it out there, like make it painfully obvious that he's the killer. Even when they show the silhouette, and I know they did this on purpose, and it was very genius of them. But the scene where Barb was getting killed, you see the silhouette of the killer, and you see like kind of a shadow over his eye, or the little light over his eye. You can kind of see the outline, and it looks like Peter.
It does.
And so you're like, okay, it's obviously Peter, and I thought that I really underestimated the ending, because it was like, I was like, okay, this movie's, it was made in the 70s. It was kind of a prototype for slasher films. Like, like relative to its time, I was like comparing it to now and really expecting it to be cliche and expecting it to be like, and I gotta be honest, like it kind of got me, because I was like, okay, well, but like right after the scene where she kills Peter and she's in the bed and the movie kept going, I was like, wait, the killer's still alive. And I was like, oh, okay.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about real quick, also going back to the red herring situation, though, and this kind of touches on Tony's explanation about the killer in the beginning of us talking about this film, but the sequence when the killer's outside of the house, stalking the house before going up into the attic, and then there's a scene where Peter sits down at a tree in the yard and watches the house.
Yeah.
It almost plays off itself. So you're the whole time. I mean, it's just thrown in your face. This is the killer.
Yeah.
And then now to the ending, and Peter's dead, and now we're left with the ominous darkness of well, who is the killer?
Say one of the best endings in horror. I love that ending. So effective and so good.
Yeah, because like the slow pan to the attic. The bodies are still there, by the way. They didn't give a shit about checking the attic.
Claire, and that's what a lot of people that really narc on Black Christmas. That's one thing that they do complain about, is the fact that, hey, the cops should have done a thorough search of the house, even the attic. They should have seen that body. Like, it's in the window, you can see it. So the fact that they weren't able, I mean, Mrs. Mack too. Mrs. Mack's just hanging there. She's on the hook, just chilling, and Claire's just in the chair, and they didn't find those two bodies.
Well, here's the thing. When they're going into the house, even I believe it's John Saxon's character. He's like, make sure that you get more paramedics down here. Make sure to bring extra bags. We got a lot of bodies. Not really. Not if you think about it. There's only a handful of bodies downstairs. You still got two more upstairs.
Right. Yeah. Well, you got Phil and Barb, and then of course Miss Mack, and well, no, you have the cop too outside that was guarding. He also got so his body, and then Phil and Barb. So that's three. Not to mention the two that were in the attic. So that's two that they didn't know about, that they never found. But that's one thing that, not to say that there's a lot of people that harp on, Black Christmas, but they do bring that up, and they bring up the fact that, hey, if the killer is in the house calling and he's yelling and screaming in the phone, how are they not able to hear him upstairs? And that's a valid point. I will give them credit for that.
Those solid 70s doors.
Right. I'm telling you, they're made of a thick oak.
Sound finest walls.
Soundproof rooms.
The finest Canadian oak.
Right. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it's a movie. You got to just suspend disbelief a little bit.
Sure.
So but people do have, issues, and they bring that up. And those are two big glaring issues I hear about the movie all the time. So not
at the end of the day, this is cinema,
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's what I say. I mean,
it's believable.
Cinema's filled with cinema sins.
Oh yeah.
Like if you just pay attention, it's like everyone knows, the unlimited bullets, which I pointed out in Zombie 2.
Yep.
Dude had a 6-shooter and he must have shot 50 shots. This is what I reloading. And then another cinema sin is the telephone calls are always so weird. Like no one says bye, like there's not that prolonged, it's like, yep, this is Johnson. All right. Hangs up the phone. It's like, how fast were they talking?
Right. Exactly. But yeah, I love the like I said, I love the ending. The ending and the fact that, Billy he makes a call after every kill. So after every kill, he calls the number. So at the end, when the credits are rolling, you get another call. You can hear the phone ringing. So I'm wondering, did he get Jess? Was it possible that he got her? I don't know. Keeps it very open-ended. But that's what I love about the movies. It keeps it open-ended. It keeps you thinking. It keeps you guessing. Like, it doesn't spell everything out for you and hold your hand. It makes you think and makes you wonder, hey, I think if it would have explained more for you, it wouldn't have been as effective. And you wouldn't have interesting theories like there's two killers or there's, Billy's. We need to be explained Billy's backstory or anything. No, we don't need that. Like it's very ominous the way it is, and it's perfect the way it is.
That's like so when I was, obviously, like I said, when I was watching it for this review, my mom happened to be in the room, and I think this was honestly a first time watch for her, and it got all the way down to the end, and just the credits rolled, and then the ominous like phone ringing. So it was never, like we've said, prior to this conversation, but the killer was never announced. So you're left wondering. And my mom made the comment. She was like, "Well, that was stupid. You didn't even get to find out who the killer was." I was like, "No, that's what makes this film so effective, though, because you're left wondering." I was like, "That's a brilliant ending."
I agree. So much as mainstream viewers and with the Hollywood system is like you have to be everything has to be explained. You can't leave anything up into interpretation. Things have to be shelled out for you, and the fact that they did that in this movie makes me love it, and I appreciate that ending so much more.
Well, it almost played off of your fears too, because now you're left wondering, versus someone basically patting you on the hand, telling you who the killer was, so it'll be okay, But in that sense, you're left with the naiveness, and it's just even that more frightening. So it's it's playing on your fears.
Well, it left a more realistic approach too, because it was like the killer got away with it. Chances are he's going to go to another house and kill again, and like that's monsters exist in real life.
They do.
Like, and if you don't think so, just go listen to the case study of Ted Bundy or Richard Ramirez.
Yeah,
like some fucked up people out there.
There are. And I can't imagine being a theater goer and watching this in the theater and then leaving knowing that, hey, the killer has ever been apprehended, still out there. It's almost like the Halloween thing where, at the end of Halloween, you hear Michael Myers breathing because his body's gone. And it's like, oh, he's still out there, It gives you that extra little like, oh, like, it's more effective that way for the audience, I think. And especially then when the audience was they weren't quite used to this type of movie at the time. This is still early in the 70s. I mean, so that, I don't know. I think it would have resonated more with moviegoers at that time, just thinking, hey, this killer's still out there. Gotta look over my shoulder when I leave the theater,
I wonder if this movie would have got one of those like YouTube spotlights, like Paranormal Activity. Like, go see the movie that everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
Except it's like this really, cheesy 70s radio voice from director Bob Clark. I love the taglines for this movie too. I meant to mention them earlier, but they're really funny. Let's see if I can find some. Well, I had them pulled up. Now they're gone. Here's one on the VHS cover. If this picture doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. There's some other good ones too.
I just want that poster, that Black Christmas poster. I want it so bad in the room, just with all my other slasher posters. That's the one I want. That's up there for me as one of the ones I want the most.
Yeah, that got me too with the the scenes where it's POV in the attic and he's like messing with the dead body,
Yeah, he's like rocking her in the rocking chair.
Rocking her, and he puts the little doll baby in her arms.
Yeah, and even sings to her too.
Yeah, and that's really personifies, with like serial killers' behaviors, because like they would do shit like that. Like, there's so many studies of serial killers who like didn't even bother with the bodies until they were dead, like they were just so infatuated with the dead corpse. And so for Billy's character to be so infatuated, it just really adds that more realism to it. It's like serial killers really did this stuff, and they're really showcasing that now with these scenes, so then, but to be left a mystery though, that was what was really cool. Because it kind of left you like, oh man, because I can imagine being in the 70s going to see this in theater and then leaving and being like, wow, the killer never got caught.
Right.
That sucks. And then going home to your old creepy 70s house.
Wasn't this movie around the BTK killer? Or, not the BTK killer. Zodiac. Was this right around that time period?
I think it was a little earlier.
Okay. But I mean, even still, they never caught him,
Yeah. It's another one.
They'd have just checked the attic.
Right. This is a interesting little tidbit of trivia, though, but apparently this was Elvis Presley's favorite horror film. And he would watch it. He would watch it every Christmas.
All three Christmases before he died.
All three before he died, yeah. Which says that it was his tradition that he did every year, only 3 times before he died in 1977. So that's pretty cool. Well, not that he died, but the fact that this was his favorite horror film.
That's pretty interesting.
Pretty random, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, that's what gets me. Sometimes these questions or these trivias on here kind of throw me off, because there's one here that says the film only had moderate box office success. But what we read earlier is apparently it had major box office success.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it did.
So which is it?
I like to think it was very successful.
I'm pretty sure
I think it was very successful.
Had to be. I mean, the numbers don't lie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even look at what we're going to review next week, which is Silent Night, Deadly Night. that was a major hit around Christmas time as well.
Oh, I can't wait to get into that one. Oh boy, can't wait to talk about that. Ooh.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So next week we're doing Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah. Oh, and another little piece of trivia is Gilda Radner was offered the role of Phyllis or Phil, which would have been cool. If she would have been in, that would have been cool. Even though I think Andrea Martin, she does a great job as Phil. So, but just to have Gilda Radner in this movie would have been something.
Wasn't that Gene Wilder's wife?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. She was on Saturday Night Live.
that's right. That's right.
Where did I read that? Malcolm McDowell was here. It is. Malcolm McDowell was offered the role of Peter originally, but he turned it down.
That would have been interesting.
Then he
That-
regrets it. Regrets it to this day when he saw the massive success of the film and its classic horror film status.
And then he was left to doing Rob Zombie Halloween renditions.
Well, he went on. He went on to be in the Silent Night, Deadly Night remake, so that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, I got my Christmas horror movie in. I wanted to do one. Well, I regretted not doing one, so I did this one.
I did this one. And you know what? I regret it.
It probably it's not a bad little movie, but I'm sure it's not, the best movie he's been in.
I've never watched it. I own it, but I have heard decent things about it.
It's actually really good. It's a really good little remake.
Okay.
It's quite brutal.
Well, the first one was quite brutal.
Yeah, but this one ups the ante with the gore. Of course, at that point, remakes were doing that. So, yeah, it's a nice little flick though.
You know what gets me about this movie? How Billy and Stu were in on it the whole time. It made you think that Billy was the killer. Then he gets stabbed, and you find out he is the killer.
Oh, harkens back to Scream.
I felt a little woozy, man.
Yeah. There's so many people talk shit about Scream and podcasts I listen to. It makes me sad. So I love those movies. Although I will say, quick little snippet before we go: the Scream 5 is done filming.
Oh, cool.
Done filming. So it's going to be called fucking Scream. They're just calling it Scream.
Okay. So it's not fucking Scream. It's just Scream.
It's going to be called Scream. And so I was like, okay, so they're playing on the meta of horror movies that reuse the original names. I don't like when horror movies do that, but they're doing it. And I was like, okay, that's so meta. That's such a Scream thing to do. And then the director came out and shortly after that was like, yeah, we're not really playing on the meta in this one. We just wanted to be a straight slasher with the characters. I'm like, what are you doing? You're going to fuck the movie up. Scream's all about meta. Am I wrong?
It's a franchise built on meta, yeah. For sure.
Now they're just trying to make a slasher, which I'm gonna watch it, right. And it could be really good. I'm just a little upset by that.
Especially as a slasher junkie, I'm gonna watch it because, of course, it's a slasher film. I eat them up, but the fact that they did stray away, which the team that's behind this remake, I like their work. So hopefully, I've said that before, but the guys that did Starry Eyes did the Pet Sematary remake, and I heard that was terrible. So it's like when you get studio interference and not to say this is a remake, but when you're already tackling almost an existing franchise and studio interference plays into it, I wonder what the end result's going to be, and I guess we're not going to know until we see it. So
yeah,
I'm just going to hold off. I'm kind of surprised by that, but at the end of the day, if they just make a killer like badass slasher film, then hey, I'll be happy too.
Yeah,
ready for another Scream.
I was really hoping they wouldn't have brought back, Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, and all. Like, like if they're just gonna do a straight slasher, I just kind of want them to, because those characters have like been through a lot together and they've survived it all and all. I just kind of want them to retire those characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't.
But
The
it's
last thing
almost-
I want is for them to get to like Scream 6 or 7 and then fucking kill Dewey off or something stupid.
Yeah, it's almost like the Halloween thing with Jamie Lee Curtis. A lot of people are like, can we just be done with her character? Can we just be done with the Laurie Strode character and just move on to something different?
Yeah.
Like
And
some people were just not excited she was coming back. So,
Right. And
It's just
I hate that, man, because it's like, not to mention, like, then you have a cast of characters that are so loved and people don't want to see them dead, because like if you have a Scream movie where David Arquette, Courtney Cox, and Neve Campbell all die, then the fan backlash is going to be like astronomical.
Yeah.
Then again, it could be a good thing, but I would be super pissed. I know that.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of like, hey, let's get a fresh new cast in here. So like, if they die, I don't give a shit.
But you know who we did give a shit about when they died?
Randy. Fucking Randy. Why'd you bring that up, Tony?
I think that's our thing, man. We always bring back Randy being killed too early in the franchise. We always bring that up.
We always bring it up, and I
But
always
it's
get
the
sad.
truth. It's the truth. He died way too early. Should have never happened. We cared about his character. See, we didn't want him to die.
Yeah, honestly, if it was, who I think about when I think about Randy, Brian.
Oh yeah.
Like just the way Brian talks about horror films and stuff. I think it reminds me of Randy.
Yeah, Brian is an encyclopedia of horror knowledge. He really is. Like he knows his shit. I could sit down and have a serious, like crazy long conversation with him about movies. So, as a matter of fact, we do. When I go up to the flea market, I usually have to save like an hour or two because we'll end up just talking and getting on a tangent about movies. And before I know it, it's like, damn, I've been here for an hour and a half or 2 hours already. Like, damn, it didn't feel like it. But yeah, that dude knows everything. It's amazing what you can learn from him. So, yep, that's a fair assessment there, Corey.
Yeah,
guy knows his shit, just like Randy. Should have never been killed.
Now.
I know. I had to bring it down.
maybe they'll bring him back in the new movie.
I mean,
actually did, showing clips of him.
I actually did I was on YouTube and I saw I think Jamie Kennedy has his own it's not really a podcast, but he just gets on YouTube and just posts videos and stuff like that. So he posted a video on how he got casted in Scream. Pretty good little video. I actually gave it a watch and it's pretty fascinating. But yeah.
Well, what if they write it off that he had a twin brother out there and no one knew about it?
See, that's a way they can bring him back, or kind of.
See, Daniel, there is hope, so don't get too sad.
Yeah, what if his brother's just an asshole?
Yeah.
What if his brother dies?
What if his brother comes in as Malibu's most wanted?
Right, yeah.
I hope he dies.
Or comes or he comes in not knowing anything about horror tropes or anything, and he's just the most useless character ever. He gives them all bad advice, and it gets them killed.
No, the killer's in the house. We should totally all go upstairs.
We should all go in there. It's like that Geico commercial.
Oh, I love it. Quick, let's hide behind the chainsaws. The killer's standing there like, oh my gosh.
And they're like, dumbass kids. They need to be killed. Oh, shit.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and land this plane. You have been listening to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. We greatly appreciate all your support. There's a quick reminder. Check us out on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, anywhere you can listen to podcasts. We should be there. Give us a listen, give us a download, and leave a review. That would help the show. It'd be awesome. If you want to follow us, we do have a Facebook group, which I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show. But you can go to facebook.com, go to the search bar, type in the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. It's a closed group. Ask nicely, and we'll let you in. And then Corey will jump out of the closet and stab you. If you want to follow us on the socials, I know you can follow me on Instagram at the PG Frosty. I've been posting a lot of stuff on there, movies I've been watching and all that jazz. If you want to follow us there. I've been meaning to make a Twitter for the podcast. I hate Twitter, but I'll make it for you guys if that makes you happy. Gentlemen, is there anything else to add?
I do have a TikTok. If you go to the Midnight Monster 20, it's I'm on TikTok. I'm gonna start promoting the show a lot more there, especially now that we're out on other outlets other than just YouTube. And I just wanted to add a quick thank you again for listening and supporting the show and keep it going. And as long as you're listening, and downloading, we're going to continue the show. So thank you guys.
Absolutely. Yep. Be on the lookout too. We also have YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we will be posting more reviews shortly in the near future. So be on the lookout for that.
Yes.
Tony, you had something to add?
Oh no, like I said, I did put a post out there in the Facebook group. A couple of movies I'm going to watch for the holidays. More or less like Christmas slasher films, but when we do our next show, when we do the Silent Night Deadly Night show, I'll kind of go more into those and give like a little quick, like, hey, this is a good movie, or just quick little, not review, but just a recommendation on them. Just so I'll get the word out there for these indie slasher films that, people need to see, man, because they're, like I said, the indie scene is what's carrying the horror genre right now. I mean, they're just cranking out some really good stuff. So if I can get these guys, some more marketability and stuff like that, that would be wonderful. But yeah, next show, I will have a couple of little mini reviews for you, for the listeners out there. If they're interested in watching some different Christmas horror for the holiday season. But yeah, that's all for me. Like I said, we appreciate the support, guys. Absolutely. It means a lot to us. Thank you so much for your downloads and, listening to the show.
And with that being said, we are out of here. We'll see you guys next week or next episode when we do our review on Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yes.
Punish.
Naughty.